Mrs. Betty Shafer was born September 15th, 1979 in Vineland, New Jersey. She later moved to Ventnor, New Jersey. Before her service, she worked as a bartender in Atlantic City. She lived with her parents, and her father was a corrections officer, and her mother worked in an administration office of Woodbine Development Center.
When Bailey enlisted, she chose the branch of New Jersey Army National Guard. She chose that branch because her brother-in-law, Carlos Nieves, was a staff sergeant with Echo Company 250th BXB. She was encouraged by him to join. He was the readiness sergeant with the Echo Company, so he wanted her to serve under him.
When Bailey departed for boot camp, she wasn't ready what was to come, and a month later she was sent to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and she stated,
I remember that everything went pretty quickly. When I made the decision, they had a conversation with me and my brother-in-law and my sister, and at that moment I knew that that's what I wanted to move forward and do. And when I went to enlist, things moved pretty quickly. It was like a month later and I was being sent to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Things happened so fast that I don't think I quite caught up with the reality of what was happening. And then you arrive at Fort Leonard Wood and it's basic training, and it was pretty intense. So
MOS was an 88 Mike, which is a tactical vehicle operator. She was trained in driving Humvees, LHSs, and 915s, which are large tractor trailers. But she had to learn how to drive them and how to maintain them due to preventative maintenance checks and service for the vehicles. When she was adapting to military life, she felt it was a drastic change from back home, and she felt that it was a big challenge. However, she just accepted the challenge and enjoyed it very much. Anything that would push Bailey mentally and physically, she was very excited about. Bailey was in the top 5 of her company, and she was the only female in the top 5 of her company.
When Bailey left the country to serve, she served in Mosul, Iraq, but she later then served in Baghdad, Iraq. She first deployed into combat and was attached to Charlie Company 1st in 114th Infantry. Bailey received orders 8 days after she graduated from Advanced Individualized Training. It was the first time that females were attached to the infantry, and not only was she going to war, but she was going to a very new situation, which was being a female attached in a unit that was typically all men. There were a lot of things that came along with that. There were a lot of fears, but also excitement. Bailey had trained, and she thought she had trained well. And so a piece of her was ready to do what she had signed up for, but there was a lot of fear as well.
When Bailey was not in combat, she and others liked to play pranks on one another. She said there were many, but some cannot be shared.
Some of them I know I can't share with you guys, but we like to have fun with swapping name tags. So we would get tired, and a lot of the guys would like take naps and stuff. And so a big piece, you want to have integrity in the military, so your uniform had to be put on properly, and so we would swap like name tags and just move around patches and stuff, and so it was pretty funny.
Did that ever happen to you?
Many times.
When Bailey was serving, an incident occurred near her. At the time, they were stationed at Camp Liberty in Iraq. It was May 10th, 2009, and a fellow soldier who was Sergeant John Russell was on his 3rd deployment, and he had a mental break. He went into combat stress, and combat stress is located close to Bailey and her company, and there was a laundry quartermaster, and it was outside from where they were staying, or SHU, Standard Housing Unit. And he had a mental break, and he massacred 5 soldiers and injured about 4.
Bailey also went on DAT missions, or detaining air transfer missions. One of the missions she went on was extremely memorable to her. During that mission, she was posted as security for the last POW of the First Gulf War, who they called Ohibi. Bailey had actually gone with the thought that he was evil, and she had some hatred for him. Her mindset changed when she figured out why he was an assassin for Saddam. He was manipulated into serving Saddam because the lives of his family were at risk. Although going in with hatred towards the POW, she learned that in the end he was really sweet.
Bailey was recognized by one of her higher-ups during her time in service. She was doing a DAT mission at the time, and she was unaware that there was a general on the mission with her. Because for security reasons, you aren't allowed to know that a general is on your flight. On that mission, the general witnessed something Bailey did and thought she had handled the situation well. She was acknowledged in front of her company and was asked to have Thanksgiving meal with him and some other high-ranking officers that were in Iraq. Along with the recognition, the general had a ceremony for her as acknowledgement because she acknowledged by the general. She got a coin with the rank of the officer that gave it. Home after her service, it really hit her hard. She wasn't used to civilian life after being away in Iraq for a year. When she got back, they held a parade for her. Her mom and her sister also took her shopping. She had a panic attack because it was so unusual to be wearing a dress after wearing her uniform every day. Bailey and her fellow soldiers came back by flight and were kept for checkups to make sure that they were able to safely go home to civilian life. She struggled a lot coming back. Because of a lot of those struggles, she had turned to alcohol and drugs. Because of that, she had gone to Blessed Hope, a women's discipleship home in Maine. That was where she had started her relationship with Jesus Christ, who she says is her Lord and Savior. Because of what God has done in her life, she got better and even became the director of a women's discipleship home called Women's Shelter on Willow, which is in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Previously to that, she assisted in 2 other women's discipleship homes for 6 years. Though going to these discipleship homes and creating her relationship with Jesus, she had learned to accept the struggles and be grateful for what she has experienced during her service.